Well, hello there. Welcome to Philosophy Roulette 73. I hope you're having a good day. Time for us to read some philosophy. One of these days I'm going to need a haircut. I wonder how I'm going to pull that off. I don't have clippers. I might have to buy some. Okay, so we got some new journal articles hopefully today. Oh, you have to look at this. What's wrong with causation? We did some AI and stuff. Let's see what Babbage has to say. See how long this is if possible. 1 to 12. Yes, but let's see. Babette is here in New York. She's at Fordham. I've heard her speak. It was a good talk. So I'd be interested to see what she had to say. Material. Yeah, not here. Okay, but that would have been good probably, or at least interesting. Yeah, we tried to do this I think earlier. Maybe tonight we have more luck? I don't know. Nope, not that lucky. No mathematics, British Bureau for the History of Science. I mean, let's see how long this one says it is. Nope. Business Ethics, a European review. Christian Bioethics. Alright, I'm gonna have to go actually look at page counts because this is just getting unlucky. Or Kentness. Did I do anything from Kentness? I like Kentness. Maybe I mentioned this before, but they have always given me good feedback reports, even if even when they reject my papers, which they always have always rejected my papers, but they've given me very good feedback on them, so I like them. I mean, I'm sure everyone has had their lovely, crazy feedback from people, and you're just like, what essay did you read? It wasn't my paper. Yeah, see, I'd love to read something like this one of these days, but what am I going to do? I can't sit around and give me like diamond box, negation, P, something. Alright. Why intentional cannot explain phenomenal character? Did we read that? I feel like I read something. I argue that intentionalist theories... It's 14 pages. Let's see if we can do something a little bit better than 14. There are some other short papers. 13, passing time. I offer a novel account of passing time. Events in progress, section account. Alright, that's interesting. Monty Hall saves Dr. Evil on Elga's restricted principle of indifference. It's 11 pages. This is in the running of something I can deal with. And Alexandru Marcoci. Did I read something by a gentleman? We've got an e-print over here. Let's see what it says. Well, there we are. Oh, I hope that is this just a reference? Okay, cool. 13 pages, single space, that's alright. Awesome. So that's what we're gonna do today. We're gonna do this Monty Hall thing. Oh, I should actually check to see if this is all formulas, because that'd be bad too. But we've got Dr. Evil in it. We've got some formulas. Monty Halls. Yeah, see, the problem is going to get a little bit complicated, but it's too... Oh, what is this? Alright, we're just going to have to see what we get. I'm going to try. Alright, that's there. And for all those joining me live, which doesn't look like there's too many of you at the moment, but please do come by, and you can grab the paper by typing exclamation point paper in the chat box. Okie dokies. Or Monty Hall saves Dr. Evil on Elga's restricted principle of indifference. In Argentness. Elga's restricted principle of indifference. Elga, 2004, argues for a restricted principle of indifference for self-locating belief. A rational agent ought to assign equal credence to worlds that agree on all uncentered propositions and are centered on agents whose experiences are indistinguishable. What the heck is that? Alright, I guess that's indifference, but I don't know what an uncentered proposition is. This principle is restricted in two ways. First, it only applies to centered worlds rather than being a full-blown principle of indifference. In this sense, it differs from the kind of indifference principle usually discussed in philosophy of probability. Secondly, it only applies to centered worlds that agree on uncentered propositions. What the heck is that? In other words, this principle wouldn't apply in the following case. Suppose W is the actual world, okay, the world centered on U, and W prime is a matrix-like world in which one of the people connected to machines has the exact same subjective experiences you have in W. So me and a brain in the vat that thinks it's me, or it has a parallel experience as me. This principle does not recommend assigning equal credence to W and W prime, because although you and your counterpart have indistinguishable experiences, you inhabit different worlds. Elga labels a principle of indifference that would apply in such a situation as the absurd claim that I don't endorse. I like Elga. I mean, that is the way to say you don't like something. Elga seems like... I like Elga. To illustrate his restricted principle of indifference, Elga introduces the story of Dr. Evil. Dr. Evil, safe in an impregnable battle station on the moon, Dr. Evil had planned to launch a bomb that would destroy the Earth. In response, the Philosophy Defense Force PDF, wow, I actually really like Elga now, this is hilarious, sent Dr. Evil the following message. Dear Sir, we've just created a duplicate of Dr. Evil. The duplicate, call him Dupe, is inhabiting a replica of Dr. Evil's battle station that we have installed in our skepticism lab. At each moment, Dupe has experiences indistinguishable from those of Dr. Evil. For example, in this moment, both Dr. Evil and Dupe are reading this message. We are in control of Dupe's environment. If in the next 10 minutes Dupe performs actions that correspond to deactivating the battle station and surrendering, we will treat him well. Otherwise, we will torture him. Best regards, the PDF. Elga argues that upon receiving this message, Dr. Evil should assign equal credence to being Dr. Evil and to being Dupe. In this paper, I rationally reconstruct Elga's argument and show that it relies on the kind of mistaken reasoning that recommends the staying strategy in the Monty Hall problem. Okay, I don't understand why Dr. Evil would think that he is Dupe because someone else said he was a brain in a vat. Someone claiming you're a brain in the vat would have to give you more, some sort of, at least in the Matrix example, in the actual movie The Matrix, they throw Neo through some very weird experiences, starting with the mirror that turns into goop and like surrounds his body. So that gave him, like, he already had weird experiences, and then he had an even weirder experience to show that, like, his reality was breaking down to show that he was in the Matrix. Merely telling someone that they're in the Matrix, they even said, this is very hard, you just can't tell someone what it is. And so I have a slight problem with this setup, because telling someone that they're in the Matrix is not going to just do it. It's not going to cut it, and it didn't even cut it in the movies when they were trying to do it. So, it won't cut it here either. Anyway, Elga's argument for indifference. Consider the variation of Dr. Evil, comatose Dr. Evil. Just like Dr. Evil, only that the scientists tell Dr. Evil that when he was asleep, they put Dupe to sleep too, and they flipped a coin with a bias 0.9 towards tails. Then they made sure only one of them woke up. If the coin landed heads, it was Dr. Evil and Dupe is in a coma. If the coin landed tails, it was Dupe and Dr. Evil is in a coma. Okay. If the coin lands head, Dr. Evil is reading the message from PDF. If the coin lands tails, Dr. Evil is in a coma on the moon, and Dupe is reading the message back in the skepticism lab. In comatose Dr. Evil, Elga argues Dr. Evil ought to assign his credence that he is Dr. Evil to the bias of the coin. In other words, upon reading the message, Dr. Evil's degree of belief in being Dr. Evil ought to be 0.1, assuming philosophers don't lie. Consider another variation of Dr. Evil. coin toss Dr. Evil. Just like Dr. Evil, only that the scientists tell Dr. Evil that while they were duplicating him, they flipped a coin with bias point 0.9 toward tails. Tails. Ooh, that's like tongue twisty right there. But they assure him that the coin toss had no impact on the duplication process. In coin toss Dr. Evil, upon reading the message from PDF, Dr. Evil should assign probability 0.1 to the coin having landed heads. Secondly, the coin toss is independent from the duplication process. You should assign the same probability on him being Dr. Evil, E for and D for dupe. That is, heads 0.1, probability heads given E, still 0.1. Suppose in coin toss Dr. Evil, PDF order to send Dr. Evil a second message saying that if the coin landed heads, then dupe fell in a coma, and Dr. Evil is now reading the message. And if the coin landed tails, dupe is reading the message, and Dr. Evil is in a coma on the moon. And that heads or tails? What's HG? I'm not sure. So heads evil, tails dupe. Okay. So yeah. Okay, that's fine. Elga argues that in such a case, Dr. Evil's creedal state in coin toss Dr. Evil upon reading the second message should assign his creedal state in comatose Dr. Evil upon reading the message of the scenario. In other words, probability of heads given heads or tails, heads given heads or tails, 0.1 because it's a biased thing to 0.1. 1 to 3 are enough to derive Dr. Evil's degree of belief in being himself in coin toss Dr. Evil after being told about the coin toss, but before receiving the information that heads or tails. From 2 and 3, given the probability of the stuff. Okay, so what are we doing here? Okay, this is just a derivation of the credence that Dr. Evil should be having about his existence. Therefore, Dr. Evil should assign equal credence to being himself and to being dupe in coin toss Dr. Evil after being told about the duplication, but before being told that the heads or tails at like 0.9, I guess. Since the coin toss in coin toss Dr. Evil has no causal impact upon the duplication process, Dr. Evil's creedal state about being told about the duplication on the coin toss, but before receiving the second message, is the same as his creedal state in Dr. Evil upon simply being told he had been duplicated. So they're saying, look, if you flip a coin and it's 50-50 that you've been a duplicate, then you should have, since you had no prior understanding of anything beforehand, if you had just been told you were a duplicate, it wouldn't have mattered if you flipped the coin or not. So if you flip a coin that's 50-50, you should have already, or given it something you don't know, you should have assigned them equal probability in the state of not knowing. This is an extremely contentious thing, actually. I've tried to write on this before, and I'm still working on some philosophy of probability right now. The idea that when you don't know something, you should just give everything equal credence. Why? Why should you do such things? No one knows. It's just what we do. Then if you assign a fair coin to it, the question is what is it to be fair? But then they clarify that after, where it's completely unfair. But adding the coin in doesn't actually do anything, and we're going to see why they think the coin toss should matter. But they're saying before the coin toss you should have equal credence, and then after a fair coin toss you should also have equal credence because the fair coin didn't actually do anything, any work there. But okay. Right. It's true that coin toss Dr. Evil, the scientists tell Dr. Evil more than in Dr. Evil, but that the additional information has no bearing whether he is dupe or Dr. Evil. Therefore, Dr. Evil should divide his credence equally between being Dr. Evil and being dupe upon receiving this message about duplication from the scientist. Yeah. Finally, Dr. Evil is taken by Elga to be a prototypical example of a rational agent contemplating worlds we all agree are uncentered propositions on it, and are centered on agents whose experiences are indistinguishable. Consequently, the move from a rational agent to Dr. Evil is done without loss of generality. Yeah, Dr. Evil is an arbitrary individual. It doesn't matter. I mean, it would be... Well, maybe not. That means that whatever rational requirement binds Dr. Evil's creedal state, they ought to bind on pain of irrationality any agent. Ought to bind on any pain of irrationality any agent. But wouldn't Dr. Evil have evil rationality? Wouldn't that be different from just any agent? Dr. Evil would have evil rationality. Even if that's just the same thing as rationality, his would be evil. This is completely inconsistent and nonsense, this paper. They should have evil rationality. In particular, Dr. Evil is rationally required to assign equal credence equal credence to the centered worlds he is contemplating, so should any agent. Since the above argument establishes, according to Elga, that Dr. Evil should indeed be evil indifferent between the world centered on himself and the one centered on dupe, he should, and so should any other rational agent, and indifference follows. Okay. So if you don't know which one you are, or what world you are, you have to assign equal credence. But this is just classical probability. There's not been any argument in this paper as of yet why we should do such a thing. It was just sort of assumed that we do, which is fine because that's what everyone does. And so there's absolutely nothing illegitimate about that. But there's a question why we do such things. At the same time, PDF is trying to thwart Dr. Evil's plans. On some TV set, Monty Hall attempts to trick a contestant into making the losing choice in a game show. Monty Hall. Monty presents a game contestant with 3 doors. Behind 2 of these doors there is a goat. On one of the doors, however, hides a brand new card. The contestant is asked to pick a door. Monty then opens one of the other 2 doors such that he doesn't give away the prize. Afterwards, he asks the contestant which door she wants to open, the one she initially chose, or the other remaining closed door. Suppose the door behind which the car is hidden is chosen at random. Suppose further that the contestant first picks door 1. Monty hopes the contestant will reason in the following way. Initially, there's a 1/3 chance the car was behind door 1. Now Monty has opened one door hiding the goat, and there are only 2 possible locations the car could be in, that is, behind door 1 or behind the door Monty left unopened. Therefore, the probability behind the cars behind the door I selected increased to 1/2, and the probability the car is behind the other door opened is also 1/2, so there is no reason for me to switch. Here, the probabilistic model vindicating the above informal reasoning. Let car 1 stand for the car behind door 1, car 2 for the car behind door 2, and car 3 for the car being behind door 3. The sample space assumed above is car 1, car 2, car 3. While the information Monty gives away when opening the door X that hides the goat is taken to be not car X. Finally, probably car 1 is equal to probably car 2, probably car 3 equal to 1/3. Assume Monty opens door 2. Then upon receiving the information from Monty, the contestant will update her beliefs in the following way. Probably the prize being behind car 1 given not car 2 is equal to the probability of that thing divided by removing out car 2. Probably 1 plus car 2 is equal to 1/3 divided by this, and then you get to 1/2. Therefore, the contestant should say, well, there's no reason to switch. You shouldn't stay. It's just there's no reason to. As it is well known, however, this reasoning is incorrect. Bovins and Ferreira, 2010, following Speed's discussion of Schaefer, explain the mistake in terms of the fact that when we are informed of some proposition, we do not only learn the proposition in question, but also that we have learned the proposition as one of many propositions that we might have learned. What is the point of that statement? Yeah, of course you can learn other stuff. Anyway, the difference between updating on some proposition rather than updating on learning that proposition is nicely highlighted in Halpern. If I think my wife is much more clever than I, then I might be convinced that I will never learn of her infidelity, and that should she be unfaithful. So my condition, probably for Y, I will learn that my wife is cheating me, given X she will cheat me, is very low. Yet the probability of Y if I actually learn X is clearly 1. What? Of course, if it actually happens, one's a probability and the prior probability in the past. But they're 2 different things here. I'm not quite getting this because look, if you're talking about the unknown future, then you don't know what the thing is. If you know what the actual reality is, then it's 1 because you know. But you're not talking. One of them's talking about the future, the other one's talking about reality that you know. Why? I'm not entirely sure what the point is here. Okay, continuing. Maybe I will find out and be smarter. I am not that smart, and this author is smarter than me, and so I have no chance of actually figuring it out because I'm not smart enough. But let's see. Applying this insight to Monty Hall problems between Bovins and Ferreira explains the contestant's mistaken reason by the fact that she updates only on the content of the information Monty gave her when she opened door 2 and revealed a goat. If she instead were to consider how the information Monty can pass onto her is constrained, she would notice that the probability Monty would open a particular door is not the same, irrespective of the state of the world. It is easy to see. Assume that the car is behind door 3. The goats are behind doors 2 and 1. Monty cannot open the former, as this would open the one the one she already chose at the beginning of the round. Therefore, Monty is forced to open door 2. An analogous reasoning applies if the car is behind door 2, but if the car is behind door 1, then Monty can open either door 2 or door 3. So the probability with which he would open door 2, say in this case, can be lower than 1. This asymmetry on how Monty can communicate with the contestant is made clear by considering the protocol under which information can accrue to the contestant. A conditional probability table can be used to specify a protocol. Alright, so little table. Okay, I mean, I feel like I should explain Monty Hall because I can do it clearer than is being written out here. But this isn't a bad description. There are, I think, better ways to do this. But okay, that doesn't matter. Again, author is smarter than I am, most likely. In this table, each row corresponds to a possible item of information the contestant could receive. Each cell corresponds to the probability with which a contestant will learn of the item in each possible world. This table can be used to construct a sophisticated event space in which, it's not that sophisticated. If we take into consideration, there's only 3 doors, there's only 1 car and 2 goats. And we can take into consideration every piece of information the agent could receive. Such a space would contain 4 atomic events with non-zero probability, car 1 goat, car 2 goat, etc. Note the difference between this sophisticated model and the model above indicating the mistake in reasoning recommending staying. First, the model contains 4 events with positive probability. Second, in this model, we can express the fact that door 2 hides a goat and that door 3 hides a goat as disjoint propositions which are not reducible to not car 2 and not car 3, respectively. In other words, carefully accounting for the process by which information accrues to the contestant turns the set of propositions on which you can conditionalize into a partition. This is implicit in Schaeffer's formal model of protocols as trees, and is discussed at length in Grunwald. The latter also formulates the rule of thumb. Briefly, for general spaces Y, if the set of X on which you can condition is not partition of Y, then the condition on these events is unsafe. We can now calculate again how the contestant should change her degrees of belief upon opening door 2, say, and revealing a goat. Alright, so we got a lot of math coming down to 1/3, as opposed to 1/2. Therefore, taking into account the symmetry of the way in which the information may accrue to her, the contestant learns something new about where the car may be. Is this the only protocol that would make sense in Monty Hall? Although the puzzle is quite detailed with respect to how information is being delivered to the contestant, this error does not say Monty flips a fair coin in order to choose which door to open when the car is behind door 1. Another protocol compatible with the story would be, okay, you could make it 3/4 instead of like 1/3, 2/3. This represents a situation in which Monty would have a preference for opening door 2 when the car is behind door 1, and the contestant chooses door 1 at the beginning of the game. Imagine him flipping a coin with bias 3/4 to opening car 2 when the car is behind door 1. Then, upon learning that door 2 hides a goat, the contestant screens in the car being behind door 1 should go from 1/3 to 3/7. But wait, would Monty not open? Would Monty open with that biased coin? Would Monty just then not? Would Monty open the door with the car behind it if it went the other way? So Monty's more likely. I don't think that. All right. I don't know how this makes any difference for the Monty Hall problem. It may make a difference for Dr. Evil, but I don't see how it would make any difference because Monty's biased towards 2, but that I don't think makes any difference because as long as there's a choice that Monty has to already know which doors to go into this pool right here of non-cars, then because like I'm not sure, like, does this add to more than 1 here? I'm not entirely certain what is going on. Like, which door is open when the car is behind door 1, then it doesn't matter? Okay. Look, if the car is already behind door 1 and the contestant picks it, then Monty can be biased any which way he wants, but I don't see how that makes any difference. Because Monty already has to know where the car is, and that's what really matters in this. Okay, so what is the correct answer then, staying or switching? The first probabilistic model says that contestant's rational posterior crane should be 1/2 and hence she should stay. The second probabilistic model suggests her crane should be 1/3 or 3/7 depending on the bias of the coin Monty Hall flips, and hence she should switch. What this shows is that the solution Monty Hall problem is sensitive to the structure of the interaction between Monty and the contestant is, despite the puzzle being silent on some of the details. I don't think this is right. I'll tell you why as soon as I finish this section. Are we rationally required, though, to take protocols into account? Bovens and Ferreira and Schaefer claim it is implicit in the principle of total evidence that an agent's probability model should give probabilities for all the different ways her learning may turn out. The motivation for this goes back to the observation that when you receive some information Y, you don't only learn the propositional content of Y, but also that you have received Y instead of Y prime. So insofar as Y represents your evidence, so does the fact that you learned Y instead of Y prime. Therefore, if you take the principle of total evidence as a requirement for forming rational beliefs, then protocols should be taken into account. I agree with this sort of statement here, but I don't think it matters in the Monty Hall problem. Here's why. The Monty Hall problem starts off with you have a 1/3 chance of guessing the car, and that means you have a 2/3 chance of guessing a goat. Imagine you are in the 2/3 world where you have guessed a goat to begin with. So you have picked a goat. This is the same thing where you've picked the goat behind door number 1. You picked door number 1. This is 2/3 time. In that 2/3 world you exist in, Monty opens a door that shows another goat. So 2/3 of the time, you assume you've picked a goat and there's another goat. That means the last door has to hold the car. That's it. It doesn't matter what door he opens, because in the 2/3 chance that you initially pick the goat, you always get the car by switching, because you're in that 2/3 world to begin with. Now, if you were in the 1/3 world of the time, it doesn't matter if he flips the coin or not, because at that point, you're in the 1/3 world where you landed up on the car to begin with, and any switching automatically makes you lose. So at that point, the fact that the coin is biased in that he likes door 2 as opposed to any other door, it's irrelevant, because the probability was set up to begin with as a from your initial choice of the information given. It doesn't matter that he has a bias towards one of the doors later, because it doesn't actually make any difference in the 2/3 chance where switching matters. And in the 2/3 chance where switching matters, that is what actually sets up the reason you to switch, not because he has a bias after the fact. Okay, because you're in the 2/3 world when you have to think you step through the 2/3 door, you've picked a goat already, and in that world you have to switch, because then he shows you another goat, all the goats are eliminated. That means the car is behind the other door. But that's in the 2/3 of the time when you already messed up picking. It doesn't matter what happens in the, of course it matters in some sense information states, but at that point it matters which goat you're getting. You don't care. It's only because you don't care which goat you get. Maybe you do. Maybe you like goats. That's okay. Alright, but let's see how this matters for Dr. Evil. In his formal analysis of coin toss Dr. Evil, Elga assumes there are 4 possible states of the world. Either the person reading the message from PDF is Dr. Evil, or he is dupe. And either the coin lands heads or it is landed tails, specifically heads, tails, head, I don't know what these H given E, T given E, H given D, T given D. Those are the options. Furthermore, he assumes the information PDF could send Dr. Evil, that is, either he is himself when the coin came up heads, or he is dupe and the coin came up tails, is reducible to a disjunction of 2 possible states of the world, heads and tails. Finally, Elga calculates the probability of heads given heads or tails. However, this is an analogous strategy to the one that leads to the staying solution in the Monty Hall problem, as shown in the previous section. The Monty Hall is that the principle of total evidence requires that in cases in which information X is conveyed to an agent, the appropriate formal model of her learning X should account for her learning not only that X is the case, but also that she has learned X as one of the many propositions that she might have learned. In other words, if we were to focus on the conditional probability of H given H or this disjunction, we would indeed get Elga's conclusion. But then we wouldn't be correctly modeling the fact that Dr. Evil learns heads or tails. If we want to model the latter, then we need to formally account for the protocol with which information accrues to Dr. Evil. So what is the protocol underlying coin toss Dr. Evil? We know PDF could send a second message to Dr. Evil saying heads and Dr. Evil or tails and dupe. Following the discussion above, this should be modeled as a new proposition, heads and Dr. Evil, tails and dupe. However, we don't. Yes, here's the problem. This is heads and Dr. Evil, but there's a doctor here. That's what was throwing me off. The doctor and dupe start with the same letter. Very confusing. Very hard to get your. You have to plan actually very far ahead to get all your acronyms and numbers right in papers. It's actually kind of amazing. Just having a few acronyms and like making stuff up and a few numbers, it gets very complicated very quickly. It's a little ridiculous, really. However, we don't know anything about what other information the scientists could include in that second message, considering the following protocol where A and B are arbitrary parameters. Okay, so lots of arbitrary stuffs. Given the protocol, they do a bunch of math and they come down to whatever that is. Elga claims that P prime given of H should be equal to the probability of heads, that is 1/10. Solving the equation, and you get 1/10, oh my god. And you get whatever this is. Therefore, assuming there are no extreme values, the probability of being Dr. Evil is equal to the probability of being dupe if and only if A equals B. In other words, the agent should consider equally likely to be told heads, Dr. Evil, and tails dupe in a heads world in which he is Dr. Evil, and in a tails world in which he is dupe. This is by no means certain. One could easily conceive of the following protocol underlying coin toss Dr. Evil. Alright, so you break it up, where you think your heads and evil and tails dupe, or heads dupe, tails evil. So they could be switching it up on you. In this case, PDF can send 3 messages to Dr. Evil, and they have different likelihoods based on the probability world that obtains. The relevant asymmetry is that the scientists will definitely announce heads evil, tails dupe whenever tails dupe obtains, but they will only announce it with probability 1/2 when heads evil obtains. In this case, even if one were to accept Elga's claim that the probability of H, P prime of H is 1/10, then the probability of E is equal to twice that of being dupe, of evil is twice dupe, which means that Dr. Evil would consider it twice more likely to be himself than dupe. Okay. To sum up, if we apply the principle of total evidence in coin toss Dr. Evil and model the information Dr. Evil receives explicitly, Elga's conclusion only follows if A equals B. Nevertheless, the assumption that A equals B is not incompatible with Elga's coin toss Dr. Evil. The scenario underdetermines the different messages PDF could send to Dr. Evil. So prima facie, it seems that Elga's argument simply requires an additional innocuous assumption about the protocol underlying coin toss Dr. Evil for the conclusion that P equals D goes through. Okay. So what they're doing is they're updating Dr. Evil's knowledge, but I'm not entirely sure what the state space here is to begin with. Like, you could be heads evil, tails evil, heads doctor, or heads dupe. All right, so it's all different options based on what they could have, like, who they could have, like, switched in and out for you, and who's in the coma and whatnot. But I mean, I'm trying to figure out why the Dr. Evil would come up with these arbitrary alternative examples. I mean, they just don't seem relevant to what the PDF is up to. The PDF could tell Dr. Evil all this stuff, but why would Dr. Evil make up a bunch of stories about what they didn't say they did? Okay, let's find out. The fact that the conditional probabilities of the scientists announced that in heads evil has to be equal to the conditional probability of tails dupe spells trouble for Elga's argument for indifference. Well, if you set it up that way, it can. Claim A. Dr. Evil's critical state after receiving the message from PDF in comatose Dr. Evil is identical to his critical state in coin toss Dr. Evil after being told he has been duplicated and learning heads evil, tails dupe. Alright, this is the statement of classical probability. If you don't know what the chances are, you should set them to be equal. Then they say, we tossed a fair coin to figure it out, and so that's actually sort of extraneous information because the coin's fair, but you already signed it to being fair. So you're switching between like two different kinds of probability, really. But the like subjective and objective probability, or they're trying to make it that way, but it doesn't matter because they've been set to being equal kinds of probability. Okay, claim B. Therefore, Dr. Evil should assign equal credence to being himself and being duped upon learning he has been duplicated in coin toss to Dr. Evil, but before receiving the second message. Okay, classical probability. But upon learning he has been duplicated in coin toss to Dr. Evil and before receiving the second message, his creedal state is identical to his creedal state in Dr. Evil, modulo the irrelevant difference how we know that he knows the independent of his duplication has been flipped. That's what I said. I agree. That's right. Therefore, when Dr. Evil leaves assign equal credences to being himself and being duped, claim E. Given Dr. Evil is a prototypical scenario for the restricted principle of indifference for self-locating beliefs, indifference holds. Yes, that's the straight-up classical story. Consider claim A. The argument in the previous section establishes that claim A only holds if a particular restriction is placed on the protocol under which information is passed to Dr. Evil dupe by the scientists. Not all possible learning scenarios will support claim A. Yeah, but I mean it is a slightly ridiculous claim that you are somebody else. So I'm not entirely sure what the standards are at that point for that sort of thing, but that's okay. Not all possible learning scenarios will support claim A. So if claim A were to hold, then scientists should follow a protocol compatible with A equals B, and both Dr. Evil and dupe should be aware of this protocol. One could reply to this that there is nothing preventing us from tweaking coin toss Dr. Evil in order to account for this protocol. Assume we come up with a story that makes the receipt of the second message from PDF equally likely in the heads evil as in tails dupe. Let's call this new scenario coin toss Dr. Evil plus. Claim A only holds if we replace coin toss Dr. Evil with coin toss Dr. Evil plus. Yes. If it's a fair coin, then it's you fair coin matches up with classical probability, saying if you don't know, then it should be equal. Now consider claim C. If claim C were to hold, then the same knowledge of the protocol which is now embedded in coin toss Dr. Evil plus should obtain in Dr. Evil. Dr. Evil should be aware that the scientists could flip a fair coin independently of the duplication process, and if they do flip it, they could announce that the coin came up heads to Dr. Evil, or that the coin came up tails to dupe. Finally, Dr. Evil should also be aware that it is likely for them to announce this, even if he is indeed Dr. Evil and the coin came up heads, or if he is in fact dupe and the coin came up tails. So for claim C to hold, Dr. Evil has to be replaced with Dr. Evil plus. Why does Dr. Evil think anything holds on this coin flip? I'm not sure if the coin flip is independent of what they did to him. And why is it as likely for them to announce this? I mean, why? I have no idea why it's likely for them to announce anything. Maybe they're lying to Dr. Evil. That would seem much more likely, frankly, if you're Dr. Evil. Why would they tell you the truth? Okay, but anyway. However, Dr. Evil's creedal state in Dr. Evil Plus contains this protocol, and hence his creedal state is no longer a prototypical creedal state of an agent faced with worlds that agree on all uncentered propositions and are centered on agents whose experiences are indistinguishable. Hence, Dr. Evil can no longer serve as the instantiation of an arbitrary rational agent, as the move from indifference to Dr. Evil cannot be done without loss of generality. To wit, Dr. Evil assigns a credence of 1/2 to being Dr. Evil, not in a prototypical case of indifference, but in a case in which information accrues to him according to a particular protocol. In consequence, a step back from Dr. Evil to indifference is no longer warranted. So, I mean, is this just saying that if you have a limited information state, you shouldn't automatically assume classical probability? But I guess maybe that's what this whole, world thingy is doing, but I'm not entirely certain why you would start off that way. Okay, therefore either Elga's argument fails at the very outset when credence from comatose Dr. Evil are imported to coin toss Dr. Evil, or at the last step when Dr. Evil's credences cannot be attributed to an arbitrary rational agent, dealing with worlds agreeing on all uncentered propositions and centered on agents whose experiences are indistinguishable. Okay, so this is the point that, yeah, you can't do it in this centering of the worlds because you don't know what the what is actually arbitrary in that world, I guess. Before concluding, here's another way of making the same argument as in the above pages. Suppose Elga's argument is correct, and hence, in coin toss Dr. Evil, the coin toss is irrelevant to whether and how the duplication occurs. So Evil's state of opinion when he awakens as to whether he is evil or the duplicate ought to be the same in coin toss Dr. Evil as it is in Dr. Evil. Consider now a variation of coin toss Dr. Evil in which it is made clear that Protocol 2 underwrites the informational exchange between PDF and Dr. Evil. And the latter knows this. In such a scenario, the toss of the coin would also be irrelevant to whether and how the duplication occurs. Okay. Therefore, by Elga's reasoning, Dr. Evil's credence functioning in Dr. Evil ought to match his credence functioning in this modified scenario too. But as we saw above, with Protocol 2 in place, this so probability of evil is half that of, or is twice that of being dupe. Consequently, in Dr. Evil ought to believe both that the probability of him being himself is equal to that of dupe and equal to half, and that is twice the probability of being dupe. This would make Dr. Evil probabilistically incoherent. Okay. Conclusion. In this paper, I show that Elga's argument for indifference fails. This failure is interesting for two reasons. Firstly, the restricted principle of indifference is part of both half and third. Are these people? Okay, these are examples. I was like, if are those people's names? Also to the sleeping beauty problem, as well as part and parcel of several arguments in the literature on self-location. Secondly, the mistake in Elga's argument is it in itself interesting, as illustrates the need for specifying a precise sample space when applying conditionalization. In this respect, the paper shows that Monty Hall still has important lessons to teach us. Okay. I'm a little concerned about the treatment of Monty Hall here, because yes, you have to go through all the options, but in Monty Hall winning the card, it does not matter if Monty Hall is biased when showing you goats. Goat bias doesn't affect the card scenario. So I'm not sure whether that is relevant. Now, that shouldn't be relevant to Monty Hall problem. Now, is it relevant to the Dr. Evil problem? The Dr. Evil problem is, okay, so look, are you Dr. Evil or are you dupe? So you could just be like, are you Dr. Evil or are you a goat? You don't know. Now, they're saying that if you uncenter the world, you don't know which world you're in, and therefore you could be under some sort of alternative protocol, Protocol 2. And that, like, if you're in Protocol 2, then there's something different happening here than what would be happening under normal circumstances. And so if you assume you're under alternative circumstances, then you can't assign equal credences to it. So the problem is, when you update, so like when the scientists tell you that it's more likely that you're dupe than Dr. Evil because they told you it was 0.9 in that favor, then the idea, should you then change your mind, I don't think so. Like, frankly, I don't know why that matters in that case, because you're not actually, you should just update to the new probability that they told you. Like, instead of being half and half, then you should go to whatever their new protocol was. Because you're not losing anything in the sense of when you initially guessed. The difference here is that when you're in Monty Hall, you started off with a 2/3 losing probability. In this Dr. Evil initial claim, you're starting off with half and half, but that's because you didn't have information. You had the information in the Monty Hall problem because you knew the setup. That is the whole point, that you know what's going to happen. If in this Dr. Evil stuff, they say it was actually a 9/10 chance that you're the duplicate, then you're like, okay, now it's 9/10. But that was independent of your initial selection. They didn't tell you something that was based on the initial selection. That's the important thing in the Monty Hall problem, is that you start off with the being wrong, and then but because Monty knows where the thing is and he has to go around your door, that's the information transfer. Monty has to, you know that Monty knows which door you picked, and you know that he knows where the car is. So you know that in that chance, where the 2/3 chance where you picked a goat the first time, Monty is knocking out the other goat. In this case, Dr. Evil doesn't know what the scientists are up to begin with, and so there's no way to actually update, to use that prior information to then update his credence. So I don't really think, I don't see how the analogy holds here. Now, I will grant that I do not understand the exact protocol thing that was going on, and so this may work for Monty Hall and may also work for the Dr. Evil, but I'm still having trouble understanding how Dr. Evil should update information in a way other than just the naive, okay, it was probabilistic before. When I didn't know something, that's fine. When it's probabilistic, then okay, it's 9/10, not half and half. So sort of a different sort of thing going on. Okay, anywho, it's an interesting paper because they are setting up a scenario where you have to update credences based on weird probabilities. And for that, it is good. I don't know the literature, but I'm just being my normal grumpy self, but I like it that way. So I hope everyone has a good night, and I hope you enjoyed this paper. Hey, what's up, Genus, Venus, Super Penis? How are you tonight? You have any questions? I was going over Monty Hall problem and this Dr. Evil story. I don't know. Yeah. I can hold on a minute if you have a question about this stuff, but I was gonna get out of here soon. And I do love this claim right here. This absurd claim that I don't endorse. This is the way to say when you don't like something. Right here. Because I can guarantee you that one of your reviewers will think you endorse that claim. You're not interrupting, Genus. We're just trying to figure out some philosophy here. Okay, well, I'm going to be in the chat. I'm going to cut the stream. If you want to chat about stuff, I'll be around for a few minutes, so you let me know. Have a good night, everybody. Stay safe, and I'll be back tomorrow morning.